Some bridges connect towns, but others seem to connect our world to something far darker. Imagine walking across a quiet bridge at dusk. The air feels heavy, shadows stretch too long, and suddenly, you sense you're not alone. For centuries, travelers have whispered about strange footsteps behind them, phantom figures, and tragedies that repeat themselves over and over. These aren't just stories, they're real places you can still visit today. Tonight, we'll journey to 5 of the most haunted bridges in history, if you dare to cross them. Subscribe now and join me as we uncover more chilling secrets from the world's most haunted places. 1 Overton Bridge, Scotland. In the quiet village of Milton, Scotland, there stands a beautiful stone bridge called Overton Bridge. At first glance, it looks peaceful, even charming. But for decades, this place has been hiding a strange and heartbreaking mystery. Locals call it the Dog Suicide Bridge. Since the 1950, more than 50 dogs have leapt from the same spot on this bridge and many didn't survive. No one knows why. Some believe the dogs are drawn by a strange scent from the woods below. Others whisper that the bridge is cursed, that an unseen force calls them over the edge. When I read about it for the first time, I imagined walking across that bridge on a calm, cloudy day. The air cold against my skin, the sound of the wind carrying a certain heaviness. If I had my dog with me, I think I would hold its leash tightly, not because I believe in curses, but because something about the place makes you uneasy without reason. Overton has a history tied to sorrow. Nearby stands Overton House, once home to a grieving man who believed the land was a thin place, a spot where heaven and earth are closer than anywhere else. Some say the bridge itself became a doorway for things we cannot see. Scientists have tried to explain it with natural reasons, the smell of mink, the way the bridge's sides hide what's ahead, but when you stand there, it's hard to believe it's just about scent or sight. The stillness, the strange pull, it feels personal, like the bridge is keeping a secret. Even today, people visit Overton Bridge to see if the legends are true. Some leave with nothing more than photographs. Others leave shaken. Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, one thing is certain. Overton Bridge is not just a crossing over water. It is a crossing into mystery, grief, and questions we may never answer. 2. Swarkstone Bridge. Swarkstone Bridge stretches across the River Trent in Derbyshire, England. At first glance, it's just an old, narrow stone bridge, peaceful, even beautiful. But its history holds a deep sadness that lingers in the air. Locals say the stones have soaked up centuries of grief, war, and tragedy, and when you walk across, you can almost feel it pressing down on you. The most famous tale tied to Swarkstone Bridge goes back to the English Civil War in the 17th century. A group of royalist soldiers were stationed here, desperately holding off parliamentarian forces. They knew they couldn't win, yet they stayed, fighting until the last man. People believe their loyalty and their violent deaths left a mark on the place. On quiet nights, walkers claim to hear the sound of marching boots echoing across the bridge, even when no one is there. But there's an even sadder story, the Two Sisters legend. Long ago, 2 women waited on the bridge for their beloved brothers to return from battle. Hours turned into days, and days into weeks, but the men never came home. Overcome with grief, the sisters wandered into the freezing river and drowned. Some say their spirits still appear on misty nights, standing together at the edge, staring into the dark water. I can't help but imagine walking there at dusk, with the wind brushing against my face and the old stones cold under my feet. Even without seeing anything unusual, I think I'd feel their presence, a quiet sadness that seeps into your bones. It's the kind of place that makes you think about how love and loss can echo for centuries, and how some stories refuse to fade, no matter how much time passes. If you stand there long enough, maybe you'll hear the faint splash of footsteps behind you, and maybe, just maybe, you won't be alone. 3. Fye Bridge, Norwich, England. Fye Bridge in Norwich might look like a charming old river crossing, but don't let its quiet appearance fool you. It has one of the darkest histories in the city. Today, you'll see students and tourists strolling across, snapping photos of the River Wensum. But centuries ago, this spot was a stage for public executions, and the spirits of the condemned are said to have never truly left. Back in medieval times, Phi Bridge was part of Norwich's law enforcement district. Criminals, rebels, and even people accused of witchcraft were brought here to face punishment. The bridge became infamous as a place where hangings took place in full view of the townsfolk. Imagine standing here in the 1,500, the air heavy with tension, the condemned taking their final walk across the wooden boards before meeting their fate. Many of those deaths were brutal and unjust, and locals believe that's why the bridge remains a hotspot for paranormal activity. Ghost hunters often report sudden drops in temperature, whispers in their ears, and most disturbingly, the sensation of someone brushing past them when the bridge is empty. The most chilling story comes from nighttime walkers who claim to have seen a faint figure swinging in the air under the bridge, only for it to vanish when approached. Others swear they've heard muffled sobs drifting from the water below, as if the river itself remembers. Standing on Phi Bridge after dark, you might feel a shiver that has nothing to do with the cold. The cobblestones beneath your feet are steeped in centuries of sorrow, and the shadows seem to move just a little too much. If you linger too long, you may start to wonder, are you the only one crossing tonight? 4. Peckforton Haunted Bridge. Peckforton Haunted Bridge, located on Hill Lane and built from the Peckforton Castle to the Gatehouse, may at first seem like a simple sandstone bridge. But beneath this old structure lies an unsettling mystery, a story quietly whispered by locals as people pass by. They say that if you don't keep your eyes straight while walking under this bridge, you might see a headless servant woman, just a glowing paranoia, fake or real, but with stones that may still carry the footprints of grief. Every step across the bridge brings a strange chill, as if an unseen gaze is placing its hands on your feet. When I stood there myself, the soft pink light of evening was falling on the bridge. Cold stone pressed beneath my feet, and in that moment, I felt its past replaying over and over. Maybe it was the headless servant, or perhaps the bridge's own sorrow. I wondered, if I were alone, would my eyes turn, just for a glimpse of that tragedy? Some locals, like me, share that when they drive across it at night, there's always a moment of faint tap on the shoulders, yet no one is there. Just the mushrooms of grief that still linger between the sandstone slabs. And this story is more than just a ghost legend. It's a bridge between the past and present, a place where love, mystery, and the unknown meet. And when you narrate this in your video, your viewers will connect with every ounce of its haunting emotion, and your faceless channel will carry an authentic, heartfelt vibe. 5. The Old Tay Rail Bridge, Scotland. The Old Tay Rail Bridge, once a proud engineering marvel of the 19th century, now carries a shadowy legacy that chills the soul. In 1879, disaster struck during a fierce winter storm. As a passenger train made its way across the bridge, strong winds and structural weaknesses caused the central spans to collapse, sending the train and all 75 people aboard plunging into the freezing River Tay below. It was one of the worst bridge disasters in history. Standing near the remnants today, you can still feel a strange heaviness in the air, as if the river remembers that tragic night. Locals often speak of hearing the phantom sounds of a train chugging across the water, only for it to vanish into silence. Some have even claimed to see ghostly lights moving where the bridge once stood, glowing faintly before fading into the darkness. When I first learned about the Old Tay Rail Bridge, I couldn't shake the thought of the passengers that night, bundled in coats, perhaps chatting with loved ones, never knowing they had minutes left to live. It makes me wonder how fragile life really is. One moment, ordinary; the next, eternal silence. Even without seeing any ghosts, standing by the water gives you an uneasy feeling. The wind cuts sharply against your skin, and the waves lap against the shore in a slow, almost sorrowful rhythm. You can't help but imagine the cries, the chaos, and the icy blackness that swallowed them whole. The bridge's ruins remain a stark reminder that history is not just written in books sometimes. It lingers in the air, waiting for anyone brave enough to listen. And if you stand there long enough, in the quiet of night, maybe you'll hear it too, the faint whistle of a train that never made it home.